You might be surprised to learn that the real culprits behind modern health issues aren't always the shiny packaged snacks you see on supermarket shelves. In our research, we uncovered a more nuanced story about what truly drives our eating habits and why some of the foods we love might not be the problem at all. Let's dive into what we found. Ultra-processed foods, UPFs, have long been labeled as the main villains in nutrition debates. From crisps to sugary drinks, these factory-made products are often blamed for everything from obesity to mental health struggles. But here's where it gets controversial. Some experts argue that these foods are specifically designed to hook us through aggressive marketing and addictive flavor profiles that make us eat even when we're not hungry. Yet, as we'll explore, the truth is far more complicated than a simple good versus bad narrative. Policymakers have pushed for drastic measures, like warning labels and taxes on UPFs, especially near schools. But how much of this urgency is backed by solid evidence? Our study of over 3,000 UK adults and 400 everyday foods challenges the assumption that UPFs are inherently harmful. We wanted to ask, what makes a food feel good to eat? And why do some people keep going back for more, even after they're full? Two concepts often get mixed up in nutrition discussions: liking a food and hedonic overeating. Liking is about taste, how something feels on your tongue. Hedonic overeating, however, is about continuing to eat because the food feels satisfying, even when you're not physically hungry. While related, these are two distinct things. For example, many people enjoy porridge but rarely binge on it, while chocolate, biscuits, and ice cream top both lists. In 3 large online studies, we asked participants to rate unbranded food photos for how much they liked them and how likely they were to overeat. The foods ranged from jacket potatoes to custard creams, items you'd find in a typical UK shopping basket. Then, we compared these responses to 3 factors: the food's nutritional content, like fat, sugar, and fiber, their classification as ultra-processed using the Nova system, and how people perceived them, as sweet, fatty, or healthy. The big takeaway: perception plays a huge role in how we eat. Even if a food is high in calories or low in fiber, how we believe it tastes or feels matters more than its actual nutritional profile. For instance, foods seen as sweet or fatty were more likely to trigger overeating, regardless of their calorie count. Conversely, foods labeled as bitter or high in fiber were less likely to be overeaten. In one survey, we could predict 78% of the variation in overeating behavior by combining nutrient data, 41%, with people's beliefs about the food, 38%. This means how we think about food, as healthy, delicious, or indulgent, has just as much impact on our choices as what's actually in it. This brings us back to ultra-processed foods. Despite the intense scrutiny, classifying a food as ultra-processed added very little to our predictive models. Once we accounted for nutrition and perception, the Nova classification explained less than 2% of the variation in liking and just 4% in overeating. That's not to say all UPFs are harmless. Many are high in calories, low in fiber, and easy to overconsume. But the label is a blunt instrument. It groups sugary drinks with fortified cereals, protein bars with plant-based meat alternatives. Some of these products may be less healthy, but others can be beneficial. For example, whole grain cereals or vegan meat alternatives can support older adults with low appetites or people on restricted diets. The message that all UPFs are bad oversimplifies the issue. People don't eat based on labels alone. They eat based on how a food tastes, how it makes them feel, and how it fits with their goals. Relying on UPF labels to shape policy could backfire. Warning labels might steer people away from foods that are actually beneficial, like whole grain cereals, or create confusion about what's truly unhealthy. Instead, we recommend a more informed, personalized approach. Boost food literacy. Help people understand what makes food satisfying, what drives cravings, and how to recognize their personal cues for overeating. Reformulate with intention. Design food products that are enjoyable and filling. rather than relying on bland diet options or ultra-palatable snacks. Address eating motivations. People eat for many reasons beyond hunger: comfort, connection, and pleasure. Supporting alternative habits while maximizing enjoyment could reduce dependence on low-quality foods. It's not just about processing. Some UPFs do deserve concern. They're calorie-dense, aggressively marketed, and often sold in oversized portions. But they're not a smoking gun. Labeling entire categories of food as bad based purely on their processing misses the complexity of eating behavior. What drives us to eat and overeat is complicated, but not beyond understanding. We now have the data and models to unpack those motivations and support people in building healthier, more satisfying diets. Ultimately, the nutritional and sensory characteristics of food and how we perceive them matter more than whether something came out of a packet. If we want to encourage better eating habits, it's time to stop demonizing food groups and start focusing on the psychology behind our choices.